pizza time.
Hey everybody, it's just me today. I'm Andrew, by the way. It's been brought to my attention that in the videos I've made so far, I've introduced myself, I think, once. Not counting the one where it's actually me and Drew, the other half of this channel. So hi, it's just me. It's just Andrew today. Today, we're going to be talking about Miss Marvel, because I have yet to do so. So very, very late, but you know, as long as I talk about it a little bit before it comes out. I mean, is it really late? But here we go. So I mentioned in my She-Hulk video, which should have come out before this one, that in doing like research, which is just YouTube and Google stuff, to look at like the public reception or excitement or anticipation, I suppose, for most of the newer superhero stuff, it can often lead to a rabbit hole of cynicism, hate, and weird complaining. And I'm not here to do any of that because I don't agree with such negativity. This is just going to be more straightforward things I'm excited about, things I'm not excited about from like a nerdy standpoint, because on the surface level, Miss Marvel is an awesome comic book character, a super cool superhero, and it's going to offer another interesting, unique perspective in the MCU, which I'm all for. So let's get into it. Before watching this, if anyone ever finds this, I would recommend watching Comic Drake's video on Miss Marvel, like history of like where she comes from, like how she was introduced in the comic books. I just watched it. It's great. He's a popular YouTuber. It's very likely you've already seen it, but it's worth it. I'm going to be referencing some of the history in that video, not riffing on him at all, or not ripping off like the stuff in his video. It's just it's good context. So yeah, she was a huge hit when she came out, when she was introduced in 2014, and so it's no surprise that she's already getting a live action show, getting the live action treatment. And you know, she's fun, she's kind of wacky, and she's nerdy, and it's going to be a really cool coming of age story. And I think that's going to be really cool to see in a world filled with superheroes that we really haven't seen just yet. I mean, Spider-Man kind of does that in some ways, but it's not quite the same. And I'm excited to see a character who is a superhero nerd in a world of superheroes in a way that's not going to feel like it's like a meta thing.
Freddie Freeman, this guy.
Like, we've seen movies now where the character is a nerd like us, but it's like they're still outside of the world that they're nerdy about. Like Ready Player One's a good example, but you know, he and Artemis and H and all them, they're outside of the world of all the nerdy stuff. But to see someone, there's going to be this kind of cool argument that could be made in the MCU that anyone who's like a big superhero nerd could be considered a history buff too, because you've got stuff like with Captain America and stuff that goes back with Ant-Man and Captain Marvel being back in the 90s and whatnot. Not that that should be considered far off history, but it's kind of like in Onward with Barley being the big D&D nerd, but everything in that is historically accurate. Like, he's a nerd because everyone else doesn't really care. And it'll be interesting to see what these bully-like characters are in this show who think Kamala is lame or is a nerd for being into these people who actually exist. Like, it's like, oh, you think it's cool that we have all these super people and flying robots and alien super warriors and gods from mythology all kind of interacting together on Earth. That's lame. Like, I hope they do that in a way that's kind of like makes sense, is believable, because otherwise it's why wouldn't you think that's cool? But yeah, that's my first point. I'm excited to see a nerd that we can kind of see ourselves in that way. But I'm also excited that this is going to be the first Pakistani Muslim superhero in the MCU. And I'm clearly not Pakistani, and I'm not a Muslim. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. I really don't. I'm not really into any religion in particular. However, I am very excited for more and more representation in these films, because it means more and more people get to see themselves in this world. And that's what these comic books have always been about, and that's what these movies are attempting to be more about. And I'm happy about that, because I've been able to see myself in all kinds of superheroes for a long time, and I still can. And the idea of other little kids out there, both little boys and little girls, who come from different backgrounds than I do, being able to see themselves brought to life in a way that is hopefully not stupid or dumb and taken seriously and believable, I think that's amazing. And I don't know why you wouldn't want more of that. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Miss Marvel to offer that up to a lot of people in the world. I think it's really cool that in Pakistan the show's going to come out in theaters, because Disney Plus isn't available there yet. Like, that's so cool that they're going to be doing that for people. There's an argument to be made that they're just finding a way to make money, because you have to buy movie tickets and whatnot. But like, in the alternate universe where it's not done at all, it means this character who comes from whose culture comes from this part of the world, and that part of the world doesn't get to see it at all. Like, I don't know. I realize that, you know, Disney is a big old money grubbing gross thing, and they'll make money off of this, but that's what they're always gonna do. I think it's cool that at the very least people in Pakistan will be able to see this character again, hoping that they bring this character to life the right way. I think her suit looks great. I think I have no issue really with her powers. I know that was kind of the big thing we all as nerds kind of lost our minds about at first, because Marvel's argument for it was kind of stupid. The fact that we can't have two stretchy people at the same time, but we can have two illusion people, lots of super strong people, plenty of speedsters, a couple of techie guys. Like, we can have the same kind of powers all at the same time. That was a dumb argument. I'm not overly upset about it. I'll say that. I think it looks cool. I know it's being compared to Green Lantern, but like, when was the last time you saw a good live action Green Lantern? So like, who really cares? And the fact that we're kind of getting this like loose combination of she has these little cosmic-y crystal constructs and just cosmic-y crystal constructs in the form of her stretching, I think it'll be really cool. I think in this moment as well, it might be kind of like that one astral projection character in Young Justice, and this will be an example of her embiggening. I'm imagining we won't get any of the shrinking ability seen in this, but I'm all for her new power set, the way it looks. I think it's cool. My little issue there is how she acquires her powers in this show, because in the comic book she's an Inhuman. She's like one of the only Inhumans we actually care about, other than like Black Bolt, because the Inhumans have been kind of been dropping the ball forever. And she clearly, I bet like 95% sure that she's not going to be an Inhuman in this show. She seems to acquire her powers through this bracelet. Now, that bracelet in the comics is a family heirloom that she kind of keeps stuff in, like her cell phone and stuff. I think one of her friends messes with it and makes it like a little compartment for her. So it's cool to maintain that in the show. It does look like it is also a family heirloom.
Cool. Is this Nani's?
That is just junk.
But if it itself is what unlocks her powers, or is what gives her powers, that's where I'm like a little shaky on it, because I don't love the idea of a character who has inherent metahuman, mutant, inhuman-esque powers being a character that now relies on their powers through an external thing like a Mjolnir or a Green Lantern ring or a Stargirl's staff. That creates a very predictable kind of obstacle that she comes across, where like, oh, she took off her bracelet because she was in gym, and then someone picked up her bag by accident, and now she doesn't have her bracelet, and now she doesn't have her powers, and so we have to go find it. Like, it creates a predictable issue that I don't want to see, you know what I mean? It also begs the question, if this is a family heirloom, why is it Kamala gets powers and no one else did? And maybe they are going to introduce her as someone who does have latent superhuman abilities, and this just unlocks it. I don't know. like She-Hulk acquiring her abilities and like Jane now having the hammer, Kamala having superpowers in this way. It's a question I hope is answered. I can't imagine it won't be, but it's my number one question. Like what's going on here? My only other issue with this has nothing to do with Kamala or Miss Marvel as a character or anything that looks like the show looking bad or if it's all good. My issue is that her favorite superhero clearly, both in the comics and the show, is Captain Marvel, and I have no issues with Captain Marvel in the same way that a lot of other people do. Like I don't get into all that. I have no issues with Brie Larson. I have no issues with a lot of what Captain Marvel has done in the movies. I don't care that she's arrogant. I don't care that she's cocky. If that's part of her character, cool. We have guy characters who are arrogant and cocky, and it's never mattered. I'm not trying to ramble and rant on that right now. That'll be a video of its own. My issue is that in this show, we see that not only is Kamala really into Kamala or Kamala. I'm sorry, I keep going back and forth. I believe it's Kamala. We see that Kamala is really into Captain Marvel, and not only is she really into it, but Captain Marvel has become a superhero that Earth has merchandise for. There are statues, there's costumes, there's posters, there's t-shirts and whatnot. And when that happened with Iron Man all the way back in Iron Man 2, it made sense. He was a public figure that people knew of already, and it made sense that there'd be merchandise. It makes sense technically that there would be a bunch of stuff for Captain Marvel because technically she's been a superhero on Earth on and off since the end of the beginning of Infinity War. The end of Infinity War / the beginning of Endgame. That little before the 5-year chunk, if you will. So. And then we only see in Endgame a second where they reference that she's off Earth a lot, but she's clearly been an active member of the Avengers in a way where Earth is aware of her and has merchandise. What I don't like about that is that we didn't get to see that develop. I think someone else made a video talking about this. I don't know who it was, but it's been talked about a little bit on the internet. It's like we did not get to see the natural progression of how Captain Marvel was accepted and like the world was made aware of her to the point where she is a well-known superhero. And I don't like that as much. Like I want to be truly excited for Miss Marvel, but at the same time, Miss Marvel, she's a nerd for Captain Marvel when Captain Marvel's been a superhero for a long time, and we haven't really gotten to see Captain Marvel do a whole lot yet. And I want more of that. The fact that the Captain Marvel sequel is already going to be the Marvels with Miss Marvel and Monica. Like, I mean, I'm pumped for that. I want to see all of them together. That's going to be great. But again, we didn't get a whole lot of Carol before all these other characters who look up to her, who look at her as an idol, as a mentor. I think it would be like if we got Spider-Man Homecoming, we skipped all the way to the end of No Way Home, and then the next movie was Miles being excited to meet the current established Spider-Man. Like, I don't think we as a fan base, granted there's a really negative side of that fan base, but I don't think we as a fan base have gotten to be attached to Danvers just yet in a way where we can relate to Kamala's attachment to her. So that's not something I think is going to make the show bad by any means. I think it's going to, if anything, it's just going to hurt the believability of it, because Captain Marvel, for us as an MCU character, as an audience, she's still relatively new, and already we have this character who loves her more than anything else, and it's like, well, what the heck? Like, we don't even know everything about her just yet. But that doesn't change like my excitement for the show or any emotions, negative or positive, towards the current Captain Marvel. I'm just excited to continue to explore these characters and new perspectives and new faces and new everything. Like I'm excited to be moving forward with this. And yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to the show. And like I said, I think her suit looks great. I love the details they've added to make it look a little more like it's added some details from like her faith or her culture. I'm not sure, because like I said, I don't really know a whole lot about either one. But yeah, I would say, even though I before the trailers came out, I think I was more excited for She-Hulk, just because the idea of the fourth wall-breaking super lawyer sounded really cool. But with the CGI possibly being a bit of an issue potentially for the whole thing, I think at this point I'm more excited for Miss Marvel. And that's where I'll end that. If you're liking these videos and these nerdy conversations, consider liking, consider subscribing. Every subscription generates a little drawing on this great big subscription banner that I'm doing, and we're almost at 10. So maybe by the time this video comes out, we will actually hit 10. So we'll see. Whatever is on the banner right now that you're seeing, if there's 10 of them, we hit 10. If not, you could be the 10th. Consider it. So, see you on the next one. Have a good day.
Pizza time.